Just look at this gorgeous distress embossing effect. If this is something you would like to try, then hop on because you're gonna love this video. Hello and very warm welcome everyone, it's Marta here. We're gonna be playing with the embossing powders and you will need iron for this technique. Before we start, I'm gonna be using the corner punch once again. And one thing I want to say, in my last video, I was actually, when I was creating this arch effect using my corner punch, a couple friends has actually pointed me that the line I was drawing, they weren't visible very much. So today I have a different pencil and I hope to show you, reintroduce this technique, but we're going to be make it slightly different and not the same thing. And hopefully you will see it way clearer. I just want to say thank you if something is not very good visibility, or you would like to see something from like a closer angles or something, just give me a shout, because this way I can improve my videos. So I am always thankful for all your feedback and you helping me to create better videos for you. I'm starting from this card base, and this is just a piece of the A4 size paper score in half. It doesn't really matter what size of the card you prefer. You could create the square card or 5x7, A2, depending what you like to work with. I think that for this element I'm gonna be creating with my corner punch, the A5 size card will be working perfect. Now I have two circular dies, but you don't need the access to die cutting machine. All you really need is just to create the small circular opening and then draw a larger circle around it. So here I'm starting from tracing the ball and with this soft pencil, the line, the mark is way more visible, so I hope you're gonna see it better. And now I am tracing the smaller circle inside. And in my last video, I was cutting around the larger pencil line and all the punching effect was on the outside. And today we're going to be switching the game, because I will cut the smaller circle and we're going to be doing the punching effect on the inside. And this is super fun technique to try. I highly encourage you, if you have some corner punches, just try a few different ways, because this is stretching your supplies. This will give you way more ways you can use up your corner punches. And also for the friends who doesn't have the access to die cutting machine, you can try this one for a fraction of the price, because all you really need is just to buy this decorative corner punch. Now the main thing you have to do with this technique is to line up your punch, so you could see this pencil mark on the bottom of your punch. So that way the line will kind of guide you up how you can keep your curvature, so you have this nice circular effect. I highly encourage you to check the last video where I'm sharing this technique in detail, so that way you will have all the tips and extra thing I'm sharing there. Here I'm just doing it quickly, because this is just to show you the pencil line, which you couldn't see clearly in my previous video. So here I've created this gorgeous element to put on my card. And as a bonus, I have this little banner which I'm gonna keep because this is something, it looks super nice, and I think it's gonna be great for adding as a banner to some other cards. So now we're going to be focusing on our technique, but before, I just want to quickly create myself a white color panel from the white paper, and I'm chopping it slightly smaller. I think it's like 5 by 7, so this will be matching with the embossing folder I have. This is very old embossing folder. It's no longer available in a sale, but you can pick any of the preferred design, whatever is whatever embossing folder you have or you like. And if you don't have embossing folder, that's fine, you don't really need it. It's just something to add the interest to my element. Now, let's move on to the main distressed embossing technique. So what we need to do, I'm starting from protecting my surface. I have this little extra shelf, and this was the topping for this Rascock, this like a shelf on a wheel, this wheel cart, which I have, and I actually bought it in the hobby craft store, but it wasn't working with the IKEA Rascock, so I just kept it. I just kept it on the side, and whenever I need something to protect my desk, that way it come handy because I can use it. I've cut a piece of the kitchen baking paper, and now I'm using all sorts of the embossing powder, whatever you have, that you can even create it with one color. You not necessarily need to add plenty different colors. It's just, I think, whenever you have all sorts of different shades, this will give you this beautiful marbly effect. And there's no really any particular reason which color to choose, just whatever sparking the joy. Like, or maybe you have some old embossing powders, you don't use it much, you bought some color you don't really like, you can use it, or your favorite one as well. I highly encourage you to add lots of the metallics. If you've got some silver, gold, platinum or something like that, because these are always great and they give you this lovely metallic, like shiny effect. So once I'm happy, I am closing down my little pouch here, and I am using my iron, and I'm using it on the maximum heat, and I'm just gently pressing. I don't press too hard because I don't want to flatten it up. I just want the powder to melt. And I'm checking if I still see a little like a powdery, like a sand effect, I am just adding more heat. And once I open up my pouch, I thought I could use a little extra more metallic. So I'm adding some gold and this bronze color and platinum, and some of these are ultra thick embossing enamel, which I have for years, and literally I hardly use. Some of the jars are still filled, so this is a great technique to get rid of the old powders or things like that, and it doesn't really need as much product. I'm here creating the larger batch because not very often I'm keen on putting out all the embossing, iron, all the my supplies. So I highly encourage you to add some additional extra, because once we create this little like a embossed paper or flakes, I would say, this is something you can reuse on all sorts different cards. So here I'm just creating the larger batch. I'm not gonna use it all on one card, just to let you know. So I'm just keep adding a little extra heat until all the powder is melted, and then I am just opening up, and look on this marble effect. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And even though it looks like a blob, once you will attach it to your paper, this is gonna be just absolutely amazing. So what am I doing here? I'm just waiting till the powder are cooling down, and once it's all like go back to harden up, all the powders are hardened up back, I'm just peeling off this kind of like embossed paper. And this is what we need. This is a first step, what we need to create this distressed effect. And by the way, this kind of a first stage, it was based on the Marion Emberson embossing pouncing technique. Uh, she did it a little bit different with the hot heat gun tool, but if you would like to see, I will link down the video down below in the description area, because that was her original idea. I slightly kind of change it a little bit for my needs. So once I have all these little flakes here, I am just placing them on the paper, in the areas I would like to use them. And of course, if we are embossing, my son, whenever he hears the the heating tool going on, he's always running to my craft room, so he likes to watch whenever I am embossing, so he's here on the side. So what I do, I am placing those flake pieces on top of this embossed paper, and then I am just starting to blow my heat air from the top firstly. So this will start remelting, but it will automatically adhere back to the paper. And this is why I like to work on the embossed paper using the dry embossing, like a embossing folder first, because all those like grooves and extra texture to the paper is helping for this melted elements to kind of stay in a place. And look on the how beautifully it looks like. I'm absolutely in love with this effect, and you can use it on any other like a journaling, mixed media elements, for so many things. And I think that this effect is brilliant for the masculine cards. All you really need for the card like that, if you would add some extra sentiment in the middle of this panel, this would be great as a masculine card. Maybe just mat it with the black color paper or something like that, and this is just lovely. I'm absolutely in love with this technique, and it doesn't really take much time. And I still have plenty of the leftovers, because as I've mentioned, I wanted to create some extras, so then I could have something to use for later, and I don't have to go back through the entire process of grabbing my iron, of grabbing all the embossing powders and that. So now I am gonna be adding some additional texture to this front panel, and I'm just placing it on my scoring board, and I'm using my scoring tool to create some lines every half an inch. It doesn't matter if you prefer to have like a more lines, you can add them every quarter of an inch, or you can make it every 1 inch, whatever you like. And you can also place your paper under the angle, and that way you will have this diagonal lines, which will be very nice to add some effect. And you can create all sorts of a trellis, things like that. So this is what I mentioned before. If you don't have any embossing folders, the scoring board is your friend here, and this will help you to create lots of different patterns and elements. To achieve this nice cohesive look, I'm also grabbing a couple of the little bits from this embossing paper. I don't know how to call it, but this little piece of the melted embossing, and I'm just adding it here and there, and this is gonna be additional splatters. One thing I would like to say, be careful with this technique, because with the time your heat tool will be, every time you're using it, it's heat up a little bit, and in one point I actually add too much heat and my paper got this like a little brown effect, so I just burn it basically. So be careful when you use that, because here I don't really mind with this card, but if you would be working on a white color paper or some like nice pink color or something like that, you don't want to end up with this like a yellowish stain. However, there is always solution to everything, and because I burned my paper with this heat gun, and that got me this like kind of like a brownish color stain, what I've decided to do, I just grab my Distress Oxide ink with the brush Cordoy color, and I went over it, and that way I kind of masked the blob by adding some additional brown ink to my paper. You will see that in a minute. So once I over here, once I'm heating, I just had this little extra stain of the paper being burned, but it doesn't matter. This is distressed effect card, so I'm not really too much bothered. Plus, once I added this brown color to all the edges of my card of this panel paper, this was really not visible very much. But I'm just telling you for the future to avoid that. Be careful, like, you know, do not put your heat gun too close to the paper if you don't want to end up with the same burning marks as I did here. So here with the finger dabber, I'm just adding a little extra color around this paper, and look on this effect. I'm really in love how this card is turning out. I just need to trim this panel a little bit because I have this edge from the embossing folder once the design is finishing, and I don't like it. I just wanted to trim it so it will start right from the design. And because we have lots of the shine here on this card, I've decided to back this element with this gold paper, and this is very stiff cardstock. This is actually 300 GSM. So I thought by adding this very thick gold paper, this will kind of keep my card straight, because these are super strong. So this will be keeping my card, you know, prevented from curling. Here I was thinking what element or sentiment should I add, and I realized, I remember I have this large die set from the Craft Stash & Co. This was designed by my friend Sandy, and I love the quotes, like the words die cut she come up with, some of them saying like just because, friends forever, hey bestie, and this is the one which I actually choose, the hey bestie. I thought it will be matching here perfectly. So I am cutting it from the same gold paper, and I actually save up a large portion of this paper by you know, cutting out the inside portion. And I'm also gonna be cutting additional shadow effect with the same beige color paper. So now I am adhering my piece with this double embossing. We have the dry embossing and then this distress embossing powder, and then I am placing this arch panel on the top, which I think it's just given us very nice effect. And this is also another proof that you don't really need a fancy dies, you don't need any specialty tool. Well, of course we're using the embossing, but even without the embossing, even if that would be like just a plain white cardstock or any other color, this will be looking great. And this lacy effect was done with the corner punch, but you could also trace the circle and use the regular lace to create this like a plaited effect, and that will be looking nice. To adhere my golden frame, I just grab a piece of the sandpaper to scrape off a little bit of this metallic surface. That way the glue will seep through the paper and it will catch it way better. And then I'm just kind of making sure I'm having all the, you know, frame equally looking from all four sides. And once I'm happy with the placement, I am firmly pressing it. Here I have my sentiment and the shadow piece, which I cut from the same paper. This was this leftover I cut out from the inside, and I normally cut my sentiments 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times from the same cardstock to kind of create this chipboardy effect, because I like my sentiments once they nice and thick. But because I had this 300 GSM paper, very stiff cardstock, I've used this gold paper. I thought one layer will be enough, especially it's looking really nice on top of this shadowy effect. And here my favorite technique to add the sentiments is just to add a little extra glue on my hand. That way I don't have to fiddle with the glue, nothing is oozing out, because I am adding perfect amount of the adhesive each time. And if you find it like too thick, you can always tap it back on the other side of your hand just to get rid of extra glue. And look on that, this is super clean, super fast, and very easy way to attach all your sentiment. And once I slightly curve up this sentiment on top of this card, I think it's just looking perfect. So here, To match up my sentiment with the panel, I am adding a drop of the same ink to the edges, and then I am adding adhesive to the back side of my panel, and I'm adding it to the frame as well as the middle section as well, and that way everything will be adhered properly, nothing will ever come loose. Especially important if you work with the mirror cardstock, because these are tend to getting loose. However, we add some sanding paper, like we scrape off the surface, so that should hold it really nice. Here I have this ephemera elements, and this was the present from my dear friend Ella. She's also here on the YouTube, so I thought I will use up these elements and give a shout to her channel at the same time. She is recording in German, but I do encourage everyone to go and check, because she's creating beautiful artwork, and you can always add the subtitles. But I thought it will be interesting, because sometimes you may have a crafty friend right on the corner, like living very close to you, and not even know it. So I'm always hands up for supporting fellow crafters and sharing, you know. We should be looking after each other and help grow our card making community and crafting community here. So I'm leaving the Ella channel, link to her channel down below in the description area, and I highly encourage you to go to have a look, say hi to Ella, and you know, you can tell her that you're coming from my channel here. That will be nice as well. So here I thought I'm gonna be using this little corgi dog with this additional bow, and I trimmed the bow because with this white area all around, it was just too bulky, and I'm absolutely in love. I think this dog is just matching up here perfectly, and whoever having dog, you always know that they're coming wagging the tails, like they would just say hey bestie to us. So I think this little dog as well as the sentiment, they're just matching up here perfectly. And because the dog is having this blue color bow, I thought I will add some additional couple of the pearls, which I am scattering like they would be some sort of like a water droplets. And here beside my sentiment, you could see I had this like a nylon cord bow, but eventually I thought that will be just too much. The composition will be, you know, unbalanced, because it's way better to add some extra elements on one side rather than have it like all over the place. Sometimes less is a little bit better, and I think that this composition with the dog and sentiment doesn't really need anything else. So here I'm just kind of working out my placement of my little pearls, and once I'm happy with it, I can start assembling. For my sentiment, I am adding a little extra layer of the double-sided foam tape just right on the center to raise it up a little bit, and then I am placing it right beside this little corgi dog, and I think this dog is super cute. So thank you so much, Ella, for this lovely present. I know I received it ages ago. I have so many crafty goodies that sometimes I'm just like forgetting that I even have something, and this one I just hide in one of my boxes, and then I just didn't realize I actually forgot about it. So now it's a time to use it up and play with it a little bit more. I maybe even create a couple extra cards with this ephemera bits, and I do believe that these one were bought in a store called Action, because I've seen them in the Polish Action stores as well. So if you're living in Europe, you may find them in the stores as well. So here is a close-up look on this card. I hope you enjoyed this technique using the paper punch as well as the embossing powders. Here I have plenty of the leftover pieces to use on my next card, and if you like it, please give a thumbs up. Please say hi in the comment and share it. Maybe some of your crafty friends, they would enjoy this technique as well. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope to see you shortly in another video. Stay blessed, my friends, and bye bye.